Hello YouTube, it's Shadow Hero 90. I know I haven't done one of these in 5 years, but I'm gonna get back into reviewing comic books as well as other things. And in this episode of Shadow Reviews, I'm gonna be reviewing issue 1 of Batman The Adventure Continues. Our story starts off with Batman essentially picking a fight with Bane and actually tranquilizing him, when suddenly a giant robot appears in Gotham City and is smashing up buildings. Batman dives in. We actually hear Detective Bullock drop the F-bomb when Batman asks he's alright. Now, I gotta say, that is something we would have never gotten during the run of the animated series this comic is based on. Batman goes off to confront the robot as a mysterious man is standing there watching him. But of course, Batman tracks this robot to Wayne Enterprises, where it breaks in and Batman confronts it. The metal monstrosity grabs something at Wayne Tech and flies off with it, with Batman declaring it won the first round. Then, in the Batcave, Alfred tells Bruce about this party that Bruce Wayne has to attend. And to further show that this is set on Earth 12, or as it's better known, the DCAU, we see Bruce Wayne interacting with Veronica Freeland, who was a cartoon exclusive character and never appeared in the comics, thus proving that this art style is not a stylistic choice and it is set in the DCAU. Bruce talks to Lex Luthor about the robbery that occurred the previous night, along with the mysterious disappearance of Superman, to which Lex Luthor claims he had nothing to do with. And when I say that, I mean he's claiming that he had nothing to do with either event. Later, in the Batcave, Bruce calls Clark Kent, but gets the answering machine. Batman then tracks Lex Luthor's robot down to the warehouse, where he is then attacked by Lex. And it turns out that inside the box that Lex stole from Wayne Enterprises is Brainiac's head, which is more or less proof that Justice League Unlimited and the new Batman Adventures, aka Batman the Animated Series Season 4, both happen simultaneously, with the events of the prior occurring first. So anyways, Batman throws a Batarang directly into Brainiac's head, causing it to fire a laser that knocks Lex Luthor out of the building, but then Luthor runs away and flies off. So anyways, later in the Batcave, assumably the next night, Batman reveals this new flying powered suit that he's gonna use to fight against Lex Luthor's robot. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it, this is the Dark Knight armor. And since a flaming roof fell on top of Batman when he was saving Montoya in the episode POV, I am 100% certain that Batman does not need this mech suit to fight Lex Luthor's robot. And this story takes place in between Justice League Unlimited and Season 4. I can obviously say Batman has gotten a lot stronger since the events of Season 1. And I'm completely convinced that this suit was only put into this comic book as the means of fan service, nothing else. So anyways, while going over the schematics of Lex Luthor's robot with Alfred, Batman finds out that what seems to be a second cockpit is not a cockpit, but actually a battery. Later that night, Batman, in the Dark Knight armor, essentially interrogates someone who worked for Luthor and tells him where Luthor is, essentially on this cargo plane. Batman flies up and attacks the cargo plane. Lex Luthor flies out in his power suit and takes on Batman. They then fight until Luthor is forced to retreat and resort to using the robot. He sends it out at the Dark Knight, and Batman takes on Luthor's giant robot once again. Using a kryptonite charge, Batman is able to free Superman from inside of the giant robot. As it turns out, Superman didn't go missing after his last fight with Lex Luthor. Lex had captured him and was using him like a solar battery to pilot that giant robot. Superman then flies Lex and Marcy to prison. Later on, Superman returns and Batman has him take Brainiac's head and throw it into the sun. We then cut to Gotham City as a man walks the streets, or in this case a teenager, and it turns out that this guy who we've been following throughout the course of this comic is actually Jason Todd, the second Robin. And not only does he have a grudge with Batman, as well as most likely the Joker, but it's kind of obvious that they're going to do the Red Hood storyline in the future. Most likely either at the end of this run or after the next issue where Batman goes up against Deathstroke. So anyways, Batman the Adventures continue. What can I say? It was a great comic book. It was like a trip back to my childhood. 1997 to spring of 1998. Essentially watching episodes from the new Batman Adventures on that format, the Superman Batman Adventures on Kids WB. And if I were to say anything in reaction to this, it would be, yeah, I've heard the rumors that Michael Keaton is gonna come out of retirement as the Caped Crusader and bring back his version of Batman, the one from the Burtonverse. And if Warner Brothers is smart enough to think about this, they should consider responding to that by reviving Batman the Animated Series or the new Batman Adventures or whatever you want to call it and putting it on Adult Swim. And with that said, I'm ending this episode of Shadow Comic Reviews.